Welcome to the Jeremy Hill Show. If you're easily triggered, leave now because this is not the show for you. Before I get started, I want to give out a shout out to Mr. Sheldon Lamy. Hope I'm saying your name right. Who actually sent me an email suggesting this topic. It's going to be about Halle Berry having to pay a whole lot of money for being a deadbeat mom, and I'm gonna explain that to you in a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into this situation. It is a W. It is a win for the men. The shoe is officially on the other foot. Let's get to it.
Halle Berry agreed to pay her ex, Oliver Martinez, $8,000 a month in child support. The two of them are finally coming to an agreement after fighting in divorce court for 8 years.
8 years equals $8,000 a month.
Until now, they had disagreements over custody of their son, finances, and we're going to go over some of the other details shortly. The main portion of their disagreement was over custody of their son, Maceo. On top of the $8,000 a month in child support, Halle will also be required to pay for Maceo's private school. The two of them agreed to joint legal custody. They're going to go 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. Halle's going to have control over his U.S. passport. Oliver is going to have control over his French passport. And neither one of them are going to be allowed to withhold the passport from one another. Now, here's where things get interesting. So even though they have joint legal custody, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, Halle's required to pay $8,000 per month in child support, pay for Maceo's private school. Any income that Halle is paid over $2 million, she owes Oliver 4.3% in child support.
Yeah. In the words of Little John, yeah. I'm so glad because men have been going through this for decades. It is time that the women go through the same things that the men are going through. Now, it's tragic that the child has to be raised in a single parent home off and on between Halle and the other guy. I understand that that's terrible, but I'm glad that the man won. It took 8 years for this to get done. 8 years. Now, when women take men to court, it don't take 8 years for this. It's like wrapped up as soon as possible. But because it's a man fighting for his child, it takes 8 years, almost a decade to get done. Now, let me put this on your mind before I start playing it. Halle Berry must be a terrible parent. Why do I say that? Because you know how court systems are. The courts will put the child in a household with the parent that they deem to be the best fit for that child. And majority of the time, they send that child to the mother. And Halle Berry has more money than this man, from my understanding, and they still chose the man over her. Let that sink in for a moment. Or like they say in the country, how you like them apples?
And it doesn't stop there. She's also going to be responsible to pay for the full amount of any of his extracurricular activities too. And she also has to reimburse Oliver for Maceo's 2023 soccer program, as long as Oliver provides receipts, and it doesn't exceed $3,500. And she also has to reimburse Oliver for Maceo's 2023-2024 school tuition. What are your thoughts about that? Is it fair that Halle has to take care of all that, even though they have joint legal custody? And what do you think about this part? She's already paying $8,000 in child support, paying for the private school, paying for all the extracurricular activities. But then also on top of that, any movie deal, any commercial that she gets that's over $2 million, she owes another 4.3% in child support.
Look here. It's all underneath the umbrella of child support, but let's be real. When it's a man doing this, all this extra stuff that he's talking about, that's basically spousal support. That is basically alimony. You know that man is not going to take all this money that woman paying him to just put it on the child. The child is already taken care of with the first payment. It's for a lifestyle. It's spousal support. It's alimony. Welcome to the other side.
Oliver just being bitter and vindictive? Or do you feel like this is...
Whoa. Let me back that up. I want you to hear that again.
Any commercial that she gets that's over $2 million, she owes another 4.3% in child support? Is Oliver just being bitter and vindictive?
That's why I want you to hear the words bitter and vindictive. Now, how come when it's a man, he's being bitter and vindictive? Huh? Now, when it's a woman doing this, it's empowerment. It's her breaking free from the chains of bondage of a horrible relationship with a terrible man. But when it's a man going, it's different. Now he's bitter, he's vindictive, he's the boogeyman. Do you see the hypocrisy in this?
Or do you feel like this is a fair agreement? Let me know in the comment section down below.
Oh, it is fair. It's wonderfully fair. It's as fair as the weather. It's as fair as the weather. I'm trying to use my trying to keep using my southern accent. We say weather, but I'm trying to say weather for all of you people who are very proper. It is as fair as the weather. Now I'm gonna play some more superstar women who are in the same boat that maybe you didn't even know about, ladies and gentlemen. But here we go.
Here's how much these female celebrities pay in child support. The numbers might surprise you. First up is Kelly Clarkson, Miss American Idol herself. She allegedly was ordered to pay $45,000 a month in child support. Britney Spears, she was allegedly ordered to pay about $20,000 in monthly support, but then later it was increased to include her children's expenses, totaling about $35,000. And Miss Halle Berry, she apparently was ordered to pay $16,000 a month, but then recently it was cut about in half. Men are not the only ones who are ordered to pay child support. Women get hit with it too.
And I say it's a wonderful thing. It is as wonderful as a cold glass of lemonade sitting on the front porch when you rock back and forth in the rocking chair to hear this news. Oh, before I go any further, before I forget, I want to give a shout out. You know I hardly ever do this, but I want to give a shout out to hope I say it right, the Do Better podcast with Theo, Coop. Excuse me. Someone just gave me word of this gentleman. People been telling me about, but I haven't been checking on him, on a couple people. But he been doing reaction videos. And the gentleman actually did a reaction video to 2 of my videos. And I really greatly appreciate that. Nothing negative, completely positive. And I gotta say this, the man stood up for me. I really respect that. You know, people like myself in this manosphere who put on a suit or play, or if we play background music, they automatically compare us to Kevin Samuels, that we're trying to take his spot. No one can take that man's spot. I respect that man to the fullest, but I'm in my own lane. We got 2 different type of personalities, and a lot of stuff that I cover, he didn't cover. And there's things that, you know, vice versa. So I love that man's content, but just because I put a suit on, y'all, you got to have more common sense than that. Suits have been here before he was even born. Okay? There's a lot of gentlemen who out there speaking their piece, and y'all are bashing them, saying that they're trying to be someone that they're not trying to be like. I like looking nice, and that's all it is to that. So shout out to Theo Coop at the Do Better podcast. Now with that out the way, let me go ahead and play this other thing about this man who has to pay $35,000. What they want him to pay. Let's play it.
I only make $35,000 a year, and I'm paying child support. Toward my ex-wife here, she is a dental.
Let me back it up and tell you why. He said he make $35,000 a year. All right, that's below average because most men make at least around close to $50,000 a year. He making less than that. Think about that.
I only make $35,000 a year, and I'm paying child support. Toward my ex-wife here, she is a dental assistant. She's making a little over $200,000 a year.
On what planet does he owe her child support when he's making $30K and she's making $200,000? How does that work?
I've had my boys for a little over 7 weeks straight.
Ma'am, you see this man right here? He will make sure that you are escorted out of this courtroom. We do not need any more loud outbursts. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All her ass out. She being greedy. She just doing that to hurt that man. If you're making $200,000 a year, think about this. And you know your man making less than $50,000. You know he can't afford those payments. Why are you in there? Just to hurt him? To put a financial strain on him? To make his life unbearable? To make it harder for him to move on financially? To make it hard if he gets another woman, it'll be difficult for him to provide because you got your dirty hands in his pocket. That's why she's doing this.
Outbursts. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
So your child support obligation comes out to $1,456 a month, and those payments are going to be allocated to Mr. Carter.
Your Honor, I understand. But when I was out getting education, he decided to run around and chase everything that had legs.
That has absolutely nothing to do with the case at hand. You chose to be with a man. If this is true, I don't know if that's true what she said, but if he did go sleep around with other women while you are trying to get an education, that has nothing to do with this right here. Okay? So back to what I said. She's only doing this to hurt him. She's mad.
Oh, if that's true, she's got a point.
You know what? You guys need to be in a different court for that. That has nothing to do with me. Anything else pertaining to these children?
No, Your Honor.
His income just went up by 50% just with this today.
I got one more clip I'm gonna show you about a news reporter reporting the fact that there are more women now paying alimony, spousal support, and child support now because of their income. So now it's happening all over the country, just like Mary J. Blige went through this too, and she was crying too. Let's get it started.
Women are increasingly becoming the primary breadwinner in the household, and calls to close the gap, close that gender pay gap, grow stronger. Those numbers are expected to increase. But with that comes an increasingly different side effect. And let's talk more about the divorce and alimony.
Yeah, and here to discuss is family law attorney Christopher Melcher of Walser and Melcher. Thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks.
Always love having you here. Well, okay, so women pay more for child support and alimony. Are you seeing this in your practice?
We are. We're seeing about 40% of households have the woman as the primary breadwinner for that family. And it makes sense because if the woman has more income than the man, then she's going to stay at work while the husband or father is going to stay behind and take care of the child.
40%.
I would say that is pretty good economically.
All right, I'm gonna tell you this right here. There's nothing honorable about being a stay-at-home dad, meaning that you're playing the role of the mother. Now, there may be some situations where you have to do that. I understand that. I'm not talking about those situations, but there's no such thing as a man who's going to have self-respect, who's going to stay at home while the mother works and take care of the entire family. Boy, take your skirt off, put some breeches on, and go to work. Most men are too prideful because it's masculine to go out and be a provider. You get what I'm saying?
I would assume that is the best decision. But let's talk about it. When a woman does make more money, does that cause a problem in the marriage?
It can, Colleen. I think there's some natural resentment anytime someone is out there working and the other is staying at home. But also just because of these gender stereotypes, this has been maybe the last and hardest one to break, where we feel a man should be out there working and providing and not receiving support from a woman.
And that's how it's always been for centuries. Okay? Why would you want a stereotype? A stereotype? No, that's tradition. That's culture. Men get out there, bust they butts to take care of their family. Now, if you got a woman that makes money, hey, you just got a woman that makes money, but at the end of the day, he's still the head of the household, regardless of how much money you make.
And that's hard for that couple to reconcile.
And what happens when the couple breaks up, unfortunately? What sort of problematic things do you see with the man making less than the woman?
So what'll happen is that the woman will have to continue supporting the man because he's now out of the workforce. He can't go back, and quickly he's also has childcare responsibilities. So they may not have liked the arrangement before when they were married, but now after separation, she's going to have to continue supporting him at that same standard of living that they had.
Wow. So are any men kind of embarrassed to ask for the support?
There are. We're seeing that some men just will not receive support from a woman. Others.
Again, culture and tradition. Most men refuse. Decent, hardworking men will refuse to be taken care of by a woman.
Some men just will not receive support from a woman. Others will put that aside and just really realistically have no choice but to take the support.
Well, what kind of advice would you give couples that are, entering into a marriage and maybe she makes more, she has a potential to make more? What kind of advice do you give them?
I think looking at those causes of resentment and understanding the choices that they're making, that's what's best for the child, and to have that open and honest communication about the decisions that they made.
Gosh, incredible. But you know what? I know for people who are stay-at-home parents, I did it for like 2 years. It was the hardest job I ever had. So I feel like any person who really, they are entitled to a good income.
Yeah, it is very hard.
Yeah. So prenup, good idea?
Always.
Prenups are always a good idea, the gentleman said. Now, one thing I want to say is you cannot compare yourself being a stay-at-home wife and mom to someone who goes out and works and then come back and still take care of the children. Okay, I don't know where she was getting that shit from, but anyway, again, shout out to Sheldon Lamy, my fellow veteran. Thank you for sending me an idea to do. You finally sent me something I can use. I'm meddling with you. All right, then. Y'all have a good one. And again, another shout out to the Do Better podcast with Theo Coop. Go check them out, man. They seem like good people. You know what I mean? Y'all have a good one. Take it easy.